Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second 20th Century Geek movie review that I'm doing, the video cast I'm now doing. So, I've done the second film of the evening, and I've been to see The Nun, the latest instalment of the Conjuring franchise. Now, I went into this film completely cold. I run a little hot and cold on the franchise, to be overall, but I wanted to go in cold on this one just to. I prefer going in cold to horror films. Don't like to see the trailers because you get to see all the scares. I got the concept. I knew it was part of the franchise. So, what did I think outright? This was a lot of fun. It's a good, fun film. I kind of like what the franchise is doing, and it's struggled in places. I think the first Conjuring film is actually pretty good. In fact, I think it's really good. I think it's got some great scares. It's got a great tone. I think the second Conjuring film is an okay horror film. Could have done with a little bit of dampening down. It went too far, in my opinion. I didn't really think. I thought it was too much. Annabelle, the first Annabelle, was a bit weak, a bit meh. But Annabelle Creation, I loved. I thought Annabelle Creation was brilliant, and I really enjoyed The Nun. Watching this and having seen Annabelle Creation last year, I realised what this franchise is, really, or to me at least. It's the new Hammer horror, really. I mean, you had the Universal monsters. Back in the day, then you had like the first swath of Hammer horror films, the really good ones. Curse Frankenstein, Curse Frankenstein, Dracula, and all the werewolf ones, and those sorts of ones, the good sort of solid ones. Before it became too campy and a bit daft. This feels a bit like that. There hasn't really been you get the slasher franchises in the 80s, but you haven't had a monster franchise, like a ghosty monster franchise until now. This feels like what that is. So I feel like, they've now hit on monsters. You've got Annabelle, as it's all demonic based, but you've got Annabelle, and now you've got Valak, who is like the nun demon thing that's been creeping up throughout the previous films. It weaves throughout them all. I mean, that's the great thing about this. This has a payoff into the franchise, as does Annabelle, and that sort of thing. So they all exist in that same universe. And although they're directed by different people and got different casts, there's a definite tone. Excuse me. And that's what I think sets these apart from some of the other things that they've done, is that this knows what it is. It solidly knows what it is, and it sticks to that tone, and that's why I think it's so strong. But the Nun in particular, the Nun set in 1952, in a remote convent in Romania, and it has all the trappings of like a gothic horror film. The cast are good. It's got a very, all of these. The thing that underpins these that we should highlight is they are all centered around the notion of demonic possession and Christian Catholic dogma. Now, I'm not a religious person. I wouldn't say I'm an atheist. I'm more agnostic. But the iconography and the symbolism and the lore that goes with it fits the horror genre really well. Now, I know, there's obviously the nice side of it, the positive side of Christianity. I'm not saying anything against that, but my point is that sort of demonic, pseudo-Christian mythology that they are creating in this Conjuring universe really works. Like, it hangs together well. I mean, if you scratch away at it too much, I suppose it's sort of like, you can start picking it apart. Like, ask the questions of like, well, if there's this, then what about Sikh or Buddhist or Hindu or Islamic demonology and all those sorts of things, jinn and other sorts of spirits. That could be explored, and that's the thing about this. Like, although it seems to have this sort of demonic Christian iconography associated to it, there is the ability, I think, to explore further. Now, do I think The Nun's a good film? Yes, I do. Is the cast good? The cast is great. Now, the other thing this film does that I think is also that's really clever and quite impressive, it sets up another franchise arm. You know, you've got your Annabelle spin-offs. So the first Annabelle film was a bit meh. Second Annabelle creation, I really enjoyed. I thought it was really good fun. Some great scares in that. And that's obviously gone off to be a spin-off and do its own thing. This film sets up a couple of characters, the main protagonists, a priest and a sister, a nun, who... The priest is a miracle hunter or a ghost hunter or whatever you want to call them. He investigates claims of a supernatural kind for the Vatican. So he's sent off. He has to search. That's the sort of the premise of this film. Something happens. It's reported back to the Vatican. They call for him to go and investigate, and then we're off to the party, sort of thing. That's the process. But he was great. I can't remember the guy's name. I don't know who he is. I really should look that up. Sorry, I've walked straight out from the cinema. He was great. The cast was fantastic. I would like to see these characters again. I really would. I'd like to see these characters again. The two protagonists, the priest and the nun, as a bit of a as a ghost fighting combo, a ghost fighting team. I think that'd be great. More than that, though, what I'd like to see is this is set in 1952. The Conjuring films are set a couple of years later, so they're set in the late 70s, mid to late 70s. That's 20 years later, 25 years later, right? I would really like to see these build up to, whether it be in Conjuring 3 or Conjuring 4 or something, I'd love them to build up to like a crossover, like bring it all in. You know, like an Avengers style. And that's what I feel like this could be. This is a shared universe where they've gone off and done their own thing. And this film is strong in that respect. Vala, the baddie, is a great villain. The nun is a superb villain. Like they use her really, really well in this. And some of the tricks it plays are... Some of the scares and the gags that they use in this are really good. They're really well paced, as usual. The cinematography in this as well, by the way, is outstanding. There's some really great shots throughout that really build that tension and build those scares. There's a couple of repeats, old hats, old favourites that I'm getting a bit bored of. The sort of like, you see a person, you pan away, you pan back, there's someone behind them. It happens at least 3 or 4 times in this film. And, you know, I'm a horror sort of like, you know, watcher. I watch these things. But there were people in the crowd with me, in the audience tonight, clearly a bit more sort of like, not used to this stuff, that even by the second and third time were a bit like, pan away. Oh, there's going to be someone there. It loses its tact. It loses its impact. So it's a bit like the mirror thing. They used to do it with the mirror, you know, sort of, you'd sit in the films, the bathroom cabinet's open, you close it, the mirror shows there's someone there. It's the same trick, different way. There's a couple of them. There's some great one of like the figure of the nun as a shadow, sort of like moves slowly around the wall, and then as she reaches a mirror, she moves from a shadow to an actual reflection. I loved that. I thought that was done really well. That was really effective. So there's some great scares in this. I think the tension's really good. The cast are great. The ending's a little bit hackneyed and a little played out. It feels a bit done before. These always seem to build to the same sort of thing. So more could have been done, I think, with the ending. They keep showing potential with the scares. So there's one point where there's a whole bunch of nuns or ghost nuns that are sort of like lurking in the shadows. More could have been done with all those kinds of things. I think more was done with them in Doctor Who episodes than was done in this. So I think there was, you know, the potential there was for this to have been a classic. I really felt like this could have been like a really fun jump, you know, scare, tension building horror film. I thought they're not classic as Exorcist or Omen level or Poltergeist level, but a good solid film, and it was. It's fun. But I do feel like the Conjuring films are really hitting their stride. And I think the spin-offs are now becoming stronger than the central core films. I'm intrigued to see what comes next. I think this franchise is getting better and better. I do recommend The Nun. I would probably give it 7.5 to an 8 out of 10. It's a good film, and I think the guys doing these are great, doing good stuff. A good solid horror film. Next, I think will probably be horror-wise will be Halloween, and I definitely will be doing a video about that. But I might do some others. I'm watching Suspiria tomorrow night, hopefully. So I've never seen it. I think I might do a little video from home about Suspiria. So thank you very much for watching, guys. These are new. These are trials. I'm still in my car. I'll be somewhere else for the next one. I promise. It'll be a bit more of an attractive backdrop. So we'll find out. But if you want to get in contact, leave some comments under the video. I forgot you could do that in the last one. But contact me on Twitter at 20th Century Geek. That's at 20th Century Geek on Twitter, or email me at 20thcenturygeek@gmail.com. And I'm on Facebook under 20th Century Geek, and Tumblr and Instagram, and all those kinds of things. And check out the podcast. So we're on iTunes, Stitcher, any of those catchers. Just search on Google or any iPod catcher for 20th Century Geek. We are fucking brilliant. I should stop swearing. We are brilliant, is what we are. And I really enjoy doing the podcast. These are sort of a side thing, so if you like these, check out the podcast, and I'll be recommending these on the podcast. So guys, thank you very much. I recommend The Nun, okay? And we'll catch up again soon.